Dale, here's the deal, right? So the more you read about this stuff, you see that it's never what you're told it was. And right off the bat, that's frustrating, right? I call one of my problems on the list is Trinitarian glossing syndrome, I've called it, which what you find is, like with the development, you're going to find that, let me read you an example. This one cracks me up, if you don't mind. This is from James White, his book on the Trinity. And he's talking about 325. I read this, and I'm like, this is nuts. Anyway, the Nicene definition had to fight for its life, not on the basis that it was an infallible church council, and therefore had some special authority in and of itself, but on the only meaningful and solid foundation, its faithfulness to the Scriptures. That's not to say that the opponents of the deity of Christ fought on the same grounds. In fact, the Arian resurgency that took place in the decades after Nicaea was due mainly to political factors and the maneuvering of particular leaders who were opposed to the Nicene definition.
Oh, man.
So
that is painfully wrong.
I know. What are you talking about? I'm an idiot, and I read that, and I'm like, dude, no.
Wow.
That is. He goes on, and it doesn't get any better. And so the more you read this stuff, you encounter things where they are, and when I say glossing, I mean like they're kind of flattening out problems or misrepresenting. That might be a harsh word. I've gotten pushback on using misrepresenting. But
I call it spinning, like
spinning,
political commenter.
They're kind of doing that to provide this support for their ideas that may not be there or be as strong as they want it to be. All right, so I'm just a regular dude in the church pew, and I encounter a scholar doing that. What am I to think? To me, it's a huge problem. Other scholars don't think it is that I've encountered.
Yeah.
But just as a guy in the pew, to me, that's a problem. I mean, this is not honest, good, critical thinking. This is a spin. And I run into that constantly when I'm reading about the Trinity. I put one up about Swain and how he misrepresented Larry Hurtado. That jumped out at me like that. And I contacted Hurtado, gave him the quote. He responded back and said, "Nope, I've never said that. I don't think that."
Yeah, this is a post at your blog, Odd and the Truth.
Right. This dude is the president of a seminary, smart guy, Christian guy. Why would he do that? Scholars may not care, but the dude in the pew, me trying to figure all this stuff out, when I notice that mistake has been made, I'm like, man, this is disheartening. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, this.
So Jesus, by the Council of Nicaea, ended up being God. Not a subordinate God, but God from eternity past. Christ had always existed as God and was equal in glory with God the Father. This is well beyond what you find in the New Testament in its affirmations of who Christ is. And it is so far beyond anything that came out in the teachings of the historical Jesus that you just wonder, is this the same religion? Is it the same religion? Jesus was preaching that there's going to be a judgment of God soon when God intervenes to destroy the forces of evil and set up a good kingdom on earth, and Jesus might have thought that he was going to be the king of this new kingdom. That was Jesus' teaching. Now the teaching about Jesus is that he was God, equal with God the Father, for eternity past, not just billions and billions of years ago, all the way back. There never was a time when he didn't exist with God as an equal with. That is so different. Well, yeah, it is different. Welcome to the historical study of Christianity. This is
Karen Armstrong, in her book, Fields of Blood, page 129, states, Paul and the Synoptics had never regarded Jesus as God. The synoptics here refer to Mark, Matthew, and Luke. Let me repeat, Paul and the synoptics had never regarded Jesus as God. The very idea would have horrified Paul, who, before his conversion, had been an exceptionally punctilious Pharisee. They all used the term Son of God in a conventional Jewish sense. So what's this conventional Jewish sense when it comes to the term Son of God? She states, Jesus had been an ordinary human being commissioned by God with a special task. Even in his exalted state, there was, for Paul, always a clear distinction between Jesus Kyrios Christos and God, his Father. The author of the fourth Gospel, however, depicted Jesus as a cosmic being, God's eternal word, Logos, who had existed with God before the beginning of time. This high Christology seems to have separated these congregations from other Jewish Christian communities.
My basic case in my book, How Jesus Became God, and that I presented last night, is as follows. I don't think that Jesus himself called himself God during his public ministry. I personally don't think Jesus imagined he was God. He wasn't God. He was God's prophet.